All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to go through Bitfarms, stock ticker BITF. They are a Bitcoin mining company. Today's July 1st, and as always, they put out their monthly operational update on the 1st of the month. So they put out their June operations update. There's a lot going on in there, so I really want to dig in and go through that and tell you guys what's going on with Bitfarms, both in the month of June and overall. So this is going to be a little deeper dive than normal. Lastly, we'll take a look at the charts, and also I will tell you what I'm doing with Bitfarms. So there's a lot to go through. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. I'm almost there, so I appreciate anybody that would subscribe to the channel. Also, if you could smash the like button, that helps this video get out to more people, so I appreciate that as well. All right, let's go through Bitfarms. So the first thing you'll see is they're trading at $1.07 right now, $1.07. So that is a 52-week low, another new 52-week low for them. They're down 4% on the day. They're performing a little bit worse today than most of the other Bitcoin miners. I do think that's in reaction to their monthly update, but I want to dissect it because I really think overall there's no reason for their stock to be going down based on this, but we're going to go through and see exactly what they said. They answered some questions. I've got some more questions. Let's go to the monthly update and take a look. Okay, Bitfarms provides June 2022 production and mining operations update. So right off the bat, the headline is they mined 420 Bitcoin for an average of 14 Bitcoin per day. So those were good results. The previous month, they mined 431 Bitcoin, and that was their all-time record. Now, they were about the only company, I think there was only two companies that really had a great month in May and beat their April numbers big time. Bitfarm was one of them, so this was a tough comparison month over month. However, even though they didn't mine 431 Bitcoin, they actually did increase from 13.9 Bitcoin per day in May to 14 Bitcoin per day in June, and you're going to see they're already past that right now and increasing. So all in all, I guess from Bitcoin mined per day, this was their best month of all time. Okay, miner deployments at the bunker drove a 6% increase in our sequential month over month hash rate to 3.6 exahash per second. Production averaged 14 Bitcoin per day for the month, and they're currently clocked at 14.6 Bitcoin per day. So obviously they're moving fast. They then go on to say, importantly, with miner installations continuing, we expect to exceed our Q2 2022 target of 4 exahash per second within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm just going to push back a little bit on that sentence. Their target was to get to 4 exahash by the end of Q2. Well, it is the end of Q2, so they did not quite get there. So in reality, what he's saying is they're 2 to 3 weeks behind schedule. That is not a big deal at all. We know companies that are months or years behind schedule right now. So, however, they had talked about being at this point 4 exahash by June 30th, and they did not make that. They're at 3.6 exahash. Now, when next month's operational report comes out, or if they put out something in the middle to say that they've reached 4 exahash, which I expect they probably will, I don't think anybody's too concerned about a 2 or 3 week difference. You know, that's basically hitting your target, and they said they're going to exceed that. So, this growth coupled with recent declines in the overall network hash rate, and he's talking about the global hash rate, from a 30-day rolling average of about 222 exahash to 212 exahash, signals we are well positioned to gain market share and increase our daily mined Bitcoin in July. So I do think they're set up for a good July. So technically, May was the best month they ever had on a Bitcoin per day basis. They did beat that in June, and it looks like they will almost certainly beat that in July. So operationally, these guys continue to do a great job. They do have another issue we're going to get into that's bogging them down right now, but I think it's important to reflect that operationally speaking, they're going to be at 4 exahash. This was a company that was less than 1 exahash a year and a half ago. So in the last year and a half, they've 4x'd their exahash. They expect to get to a minimum of 6 by the end of the year. So that would be a 6x in their exahash. So they have grown massively. Operationally, they're a very efficient miner, and they continue to improve month by month in their output of Bitcoin. So all of those things are good things. However, financially, they did have a bit of a situation. So I want to go through that because they give an update on that. And that's what's really holding this stock back, because there's 1 or 2 things left that people are waiting to see how they shake out. And I'm going to tell you what I think that they should do and what they're probably going to do. But time will tell. We need to wait and see. So I do think once they clear up these last couple of questions, I think their stock will get back on track, in my opinion. Again, this is not financial advice. I don't know what management is going to do next. I can tell you speculatively from reading all of their press releases what I think it looks like they're going to do. So this is my best guess, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens. So here's their mining production summary. 3. 3.6 exahash, which we went through, 420 Bitcoin per day. That's up 58% year over year. You know, I look at month over month because obviously everybody's much bigger than they were last year. 14 Bitcoin mined per day. That's the best they've ever had. That's the equivalent of about $8 million per month at Bitcoin 20,000. They have 3,144 Bitcoin in custody at June 30th. That represents a total value of approximately $63 million based on the Bitcoin price of 20,000. Bitcoin held in custody in June 30th reflects the sale of 3,352 Bitcoin during June. So if you watched my last video, I did a deep dive on that. You can check that out right here on what they did. They ended up selling 3,000 Bitcoin, actually 3,352 Bitcoin in the month of June, which was drastic because basically for the last year and a half, they have not been selling Bitcoin. They've been selling somewhere around 1% of the Bitcoin that they produced each month and holding the rest. So they've been very close to a 100% hodl company, and they had to make a massive change on that, and that's the financial situation that I'm going to get into. I do believe they're very near the end of this. I think where they're going to end up is in a good position, but they had a little bit of trouble. But they did definitely have a situation come up that they had to react to, and I know a lot of people are critical. In hindsight, they bought 1,000 Bitcoin at the beginning of the year for $43,000 a Bitcoin, and they created a line of credit to borrow that was not ideal terms at all. That situation ended up backfiring on them big time. So hindsight's 2020. I'm more worried about what they're going to do about it than the fact that it happened. Yeah, I'm sure they wish it didn't happen, and all the shareholders wish it didn't happen. But we want to know what the impact is going to be in the long term. And if they're going to get through this, which I believe they will, and I'll tell you why, then, you know, unfortunately, that's a $20 million lesson learned. Okay, that brings me to financing activities. So this is where the whole deal is, and this is really what has people concerned. You can see operationally, they are humming. So they've basically been somewhere within a month of on plan for the last year and a half. So execution-wise, everything's going great. Let's go through this financial situation. In June, Bitfarms initiated and completed certain financial activities that reduced overall debt and increased liquidity, including paying down the company's $100 million BTC-backed loan facility to $38 million. So that was sitting at $100 million. They had borrowed the full amount on that. That line of credit was not good. If you remember, up until very recently, it was hard for Bitcoin mining companies to get any credit or any debt at all from anybody. So they got themselves into a $100 million line of credit. The terms were a little bit harsh compared to what they're able to do now. So they're unwinding that is what it looks like to me. And I think within the next 90 days, they will be out of that situation. It had to be over collateralized 143% instead of 100%. And obviously, Bitcoin crashed in the middle. So in most case scenarios, this would not have been a problem. But unfortunately, we're not in most case scenarios. You know, Bitcoin's down 70%. So that put this loan in a very bad situation. In addition to that, the loan expired June 30th. So they needed to either extend it or pay it off. They reduced the outstanding principal by $62 million, freeing up $27 million of Bitcoin that was otherwise collateralized the loan above principal payment. Okay, so they're saying as a byproduct of that, they've reduced interest expense by $7 million on an annualized basis, so obviously that's good. Okay, and then here's what they did with the loan. In my last video, I asked two questions, one of which was, what is going to happen with this $100 million loan? So I think we have our answer. So they amended the BTC-backed loan with a maturity date of June 30th, extending the maturity by 3 months for a maximum of $40 million. So they have $38 million outstanding. So they've cut the loan from $100 million to $40 million. I do not believe they'll ever use this loan again. There's $38 million outstanding, and it looks like they've given themselves 90 days to pay it off. In their last press release, they mentioned they have 2 more shipments coming in of equipment, and they expect to potentially use those as collateral to get a new loan. They just got a $37 million loan as a part of all this restructuring, and it looks like they need to do that one more time, get a $38 million loan, pay off that line of credit. That series of events did not work out as planned. So, yes, that was not good. But it looks like they're within 30, 60, 90 days of resolving that, having that off of their books. And if they can do that, that will make a big difference for them, just as far as people's confidence level, I believe. And they will be in a decent liquidity situation. And that is what is most important with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin at lows here and people concerned about, crypto winter, bear market, whatever the case may be. Cash is king right now. They need to be liquid. They need to have enough money to get themselves through whatever this is going to be. whether it's another week or another year. The market wants confidence that these companies are set up to carry forward. So they did do some massive restructuring in the month of June to try to get to a better defensive position. They had been in a very offensive position for the last year and a half. Okay, so I just want to look at a press release they put out about a week and a half ago just to talk about their liquidity, because this is really the most important thing. As of June 20th, 2022, Bitfarms held cash of $42 million and 3,349 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $67 million. We now know they're saying that's valued at approximately $63 million right now. So between their cash and their Bitcoin, that puts them over $100 million of liquidity. They have a $38 million line of credit that they really need to get rid of. They've got 90 days to get rid of that. I'm sure they could renew it again after that, but it's time for them to get that off the books and move on. So you can see with over $100 million in liquidity, if they had to, they could sell their Bitcoin and pay this off. They don't want to do that, I'm sure. They've already signaled the fact that they are looking to get another loan. So with one more $38 million loan, they can take all of this short-term line of credit, move it to more long-term, more regular structured debt that's secured by equipment instead of Bitcoin, leaving them in a much, much better situation. And if they get that loan, that still leaves them this $100 million of liquidity, which I think will give the market comfort that they can get from here to where they want to go. So that's what I think this company needs to do. That's what I think they intend to do. They've given some signals that it's their plan, but of course, until it all unfolds, we don't know that it's done. So there's some uncertainty here, and it's definitely affecting the price of the stock. So that's what I would like to see from Bitfarms over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and the sooner the better, of course, is to get this line of credit off their books. Let's see where their liquidity lands, and obviously let's see what happens to the price of Bitcoin, because all of this started based on the massive pressure that was put on them. Bitcoin essentially crashed down to $20,000. Okay, so if we look at the chart, June was a disaster for this company. They had about a 50% pullback. They were trading at over $2. Now they're trading at just a little bit over $1. So a 49% pullback in the month of May. This is from May 31st to July 1st. So just a tiny bit over 1 month. However, if we look at a bigger picture, if we go from March 28th, which was when Bitcoin hit 48,000, and all of the Bitcoin miners had a local high on that day, including Bitfarms. So if we go from there to where they are right now, that's a 75% pullback. That is absolutely, completely right in line with all of their peers. Almost every single one of the established Bitcoin miners has had somewhere between a 75 and an 80% pullback in that same period of time. CleanSpark did a little better than that. I think theirs was 71%, but by and large, everyone was between 75 and 80%. So Bitfarms had actually been outperforming the competition until just this last little situation occurred, and this kind of brought them back into line with what the rest of the Bitcoin mining companies have done over the course of the last 90 days. So obviously it's not good to see 75% pullbacks, and this is across the board. This is 75% in the last 3 months. Almost all of these companies are down over 90% from their November highs. So for me personally, I'm going to look for those things that I talked about. Most importantly, I want to see that line of credit disappear, because the terms of that in retrospect were not very good, and I don't think anybody was expecting Bitcoin 20,000. So at Bitcoin, even at Bitcoin 30,000, the terms that they had on that line of credit were no problem at all. But at Bitcoin 20,000, it was starting to be a problem, and if it dipped down from there, it was going to be a big problem. So it looks like they're almost done getting rid of that. In the meantime, I will tell you what I'm doing with Bitfarms, and again, this is not financial advice. Please don't just do what I do. You guys, I know you guys do your own due diligence. You need to do your own due diligence, mainly to have conviction in what you're doing, because it's times like these, it's the hard times like these during these pullbacks. We have a 75% pullback in a 90-day period. If you don't have conviction in your stock, you're going to be one of those people that buys high and sells low. So for me, I am very gradually adding to my Bitfarm position. They've had a series of pullbacks, so I've tried to be extremely patient and at a very slow pace. I've been dollar cost averaging into Bitfarms. That's my personal opinion. That's what I'm doing. Obviously, please do your own due diligence. This is a very, very volatile stock. This stock is down about 90% in the last 6 or 7 months. So all these Bitcoin miners are very volatile. So please be careful trading. So that's all I got on my monthly update for Bitfarms. Sometime as soon as we find out what happens with that line of credit, because that will remove the last piece of uncertainty in their equation. So we'll see what happens. If you made it this far, please remember to subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.